Hello, I am Carlos Andres Romero Garcia, and this is my devlog for the industry brief with Supermassive Games for the Dark Pictures Anthology games. To start off the industry brief, I had decided to first look into Supermassive Games and their previous games. I found the game called Until Dawn, which I quickly looked over, and I of course realized that it was more or less their predecessor for all of the games seen in the Dark Pictures Anthology. Until Dawn is an interactive choose-your-own adventure game with multiple endings that was exclusive for the PS4. All of the mechanics that are seen, or at least the core mechanics that are seen in this game, are present in all of the games in the Dark Pictures Anthology. Now, there are some mechanics that have been or either altered or cut altogether to better fit the fact that this was a game exclusively for the PS4, so there were some things that only the PS4 could do, rather than the Dark Picture Anthology games, which these games are available on multiple platforms. So they utilize different mechanics to ensure that the mechanics are all the same throughout all the platforms. Now, the Dark Pictures Anthology games are essentially same as the as Until Dawn. It's a game. It's an interactive. All of these games are interactive, choose-your-own adventure games with multiple endings. All of them, including as well Until Dawn, have a heavy focus as well on creating a cinematic experience. Apology for the entire experience. The game that I decided to focus on is the game called House of Ashes, which is the third entry on the anthology. Now, a quick thing about the anthology being that the games are more or less set in the same world, but the stories and the events do not have any connected link. Now, I did have a critical analysis of the game, in which I saw all of the differences to the other games, such as the fact that this game is a game in third person rather than a than a static third person camera. It is it utilizes a third person camera that is seen in many other games, and that follows the player rather than stays on a set area, which of course fits much better the theme of military, the theme that you are following military personnel. There are many other things to note are the themes that are utilized and throughout the story. It's just the theme of two sides that are against each other coming together, as seen with the Gutians and the Akkadians, as seen in the intro of the game, as well as an analysis of what the actual name refers to, referring to the the afterlife as known to the uh, Mesopotamian times, which they called as a house of ashes in their own language. I did of course also see the many inspirations that were possibly or were said to be taken, uh, as said by the creators. Some references being like Alien 1986, Predator 1987, The Descent, a lot of H.P. Lovecraft elements. Now the game does very much have a very cinematic feel. The game very much wants to be a cinematic feel, so it uses a lot of high-end graphics that to ensure that the game looks as close as possible to, per se, a real film. Now, the thing that I and my partner, Ashley Hook, we decided that the way that we wanted to make this vertical slice was to recreate as close as possible the experience that you can get from the original games. So first I started by doing just a simple environmental design sort of layout here. We decided to utilize as well the cutscene script that was given to the animation team to more or less just start off the slice from the point that they left off in the script, in which two characters find themselves falling through a sort of Indiana Jones style trap, where one is left on the ground fairly unharmed, and one is left dangling over a spike pit. Um, on this section here, we can see more or less from where we start, and we decided to make the experience be fairly linear and to keep it fairly short, yet have some amount of difference in the way that it can end, with the differences being whether the two characters come out alive, whether it's just one or none of them. As you can see here, there's also I wanted to have the main idea of this environment was that the area is more or less wider at the start, but then it slowly, as you go on, it becomes far more narrower and narrower until it basically is just a claustrophobic nightmare, more or less. I did want to achieve this in various ways by utilizing natural rock elements and also by utilizing scaffolding, as well as some darkness. I realized that I could help ensure that the space that the space always felt very narrow and very small than what it actually is, rather than actually making it so small. In fact, we run on that problem at first when we originally made, or at least when I made the block out on the MDD, I and Ashley, we decided to measure out with an actual measuring tape how much we thought the environment should be, and then when putting those numbers in an actual 3D environment, we quickly realized that this was not working and it was very much far smaller than we anticipated. As you can see here, yes, it was not a good not a good space, and so of course we decided to up the numbers, and in the end I ended up with this revised blockout, which not only has the not only has all the correct measurements, but also has the correct positioning of all of the key props that are going to be used, uh, as well as having various elements of the environment in mind. Yes. Something that I wanted to make sure is also to ensure that the lighting of the sorry, something that I wanted to make sure was that the lighting of the environment was very much something that felt cinematic. So I utilized a lot of volumetric scattering intensity, as you can see here, to help achieve this effect of the what is colloquially known as God rays, as well as utilizing some fog density, as well as utilizing some of the volumetric fog Now, I did have some assets for the modelers to create, which they did. I and Ashley requested a number of assets from the model 3D modelers, which they did create. All of those models, once they were finished, I took them and put them in the game. Now, I did find an issue, which was, of course, that from the models that they made, we couldn't just make all the environment. So we took models from other sources, mainly from Quixel Bridge, also known as the Metascans, and as well an asset pack that I actually found called Sumerian Secrets, which of course there's been set in a Sumerian temple. Of course, it perfectly fitted the environment. Now, the megascans were mainly used for the more natural formations, being the rocky formations of the rocks, all of those elements, which of course need to look as realistic as possible. And the Sumerian Secrets pack, was used for the more man-made elements, which of course their appearance wasn't as realistic, but it did actually fit fairly well, and the rocky appearance of the bricks actually fitted very well. And once everything was put together, I ended up with this map. So this is mainly meant to be the section that the players would find at the start of the game, which would be the starting uh, cutscene. From here, the two characters fall, in which one uh, is seen right there. I did have an issue already at the start, which was that I wanted everything to be dark. However, I realized that a lot of stuff couldn't be seen, especially here in this area. So in the end, I decided to more or less lower down the amount of darkness, or actually no, I decided to make the utilize the volumetric, no, the post-process volumetric uh, thing to ensure that that there was still a lot of shadow and a lot of darkness in the environment. However, rather than making it so that it's barely visible, I made it so that the shadow itself was actually more visible through. So everything is kept in darkness, but it is still visible, as in here. I did have a lot of consideration for where those light rays are coming and where they're pointing down, whether they're used mainly for lighting up a scene or to point out things, such as in here. This is a very elaborate uh, uh, light shaft to help ensure that the player notices that there's some doors there, of course, that they will be able to go through. This is also as well lights that are meant to help point out this this sort of small shaft that they can basically trick the monster to go into. Yes. Here I did have a lot of lights, and of course the lighting's meant to more or less and highlight the Pegasus statue, which is meant to be a sort of uh, key prop in this area. We did have some when creating the environments. I did have a sort of per se asset that I wanted to be focused on each area, which strangely enough for the pit area, I did have the. So here, of course, this is the one to be focused on. For the pit area, I had a bit of a strange thought, and instead to make the focus asset be the scaffolding, which in hindsight maybe didn't work out as best as I expected. Because at first I was thinking maybe doing the pit be the center point, but it didn't really work, and it doesn't pop out as much as I expected. Yes. So of course here the main asset is the Pazuzu statue. There are some light shafts that guide you, are not trying to more or less guide you to go into specific places because there are some interactables, as in here, and yeah. Now of course I did try to, as best as I could, have the element of the more man-made stuff kind of slowly kind of stop, and then more of a rocky surface coming out to have that sort of feeling that the place is somewhat unfinished and not fully made, and to also have that feeling that the place is kind of caving on itself, which is why the scaffolding is also there. Now, of course, if you go through here, you will clearly see that there is a bit of a basic cave exit that then leads out to this bright light shining down, which is, of course, meant to more or less blind you, just to have that sort of like feeling that the light is just, that you're finally getting out of a dangerous situation. One of the things that I did have to take in mind was that the mega scans didn't have very good collisions. So of course, what I had to do was take off all of the collisions of all of them of all of the mega scans, all of the rocky surfaces, I mean, and basically just put on my own collisions, just basically to help ensure that the player did not get stuck on any of the like rocky surface, because the uneven surfaces did make the walking around them kind of strange, and kind of making you stop out of nowhere. And so, of course, I didn't want that. One of the things that we actually did not manage to get um, into the game was we actually wanted to have a lot of environmental sounds. In fact, I myself was also um, in charge of helping with the environmental sounds, but in the end we realized that we didn't have enough time. So that was also cut. Actually was also helping out with some environmental music as well. Um, one of the things that was actually also cut was at the end section when you enter the cave system. Here, the place was supposed to be more or less rumbling and feeling like the place was gonna cave at any moment, so that the player would feel a sense of rush to get out, because the place was clearly about to collapse on them. But this was cut as we didn't have time to code it. Would have definitely liked to more or less code that element there in one way or another if it was possible. As a self-analysis of how much how well I did for this project, I do think that the end results do look good, but I do feel that maybe the if we had much better planning, we could have created a much better and much longer experience with more elaborate, um, with a bit more of an elaborate environment. As far as it stands, it looks good, but it looks a little too similar. Each area is uh, is somewhat distinct, but it all looks samey. Especially utilizing the same uh, asset to create the pit, utilizing the same assets of the Rocky Mega Scans for the pit walls didn't help that feeling that I am describing. Also, something that maybe we could have looked if we didn't go for that uh, attempt of recreating as much as possible the original experience was to maybe create original um, of creating original mechanics. But of course, we decided to go for recreating the original experience. So that was somewhat out of the question. But I do feel that maybe we should have at least attempted to create original mechanics. At least maybe drop one of the mechanics and try to renovate it and make it newer, possibly just to change up a bit things. And overall, this is my presentation, devlog for the House of Ashes vertical slice. Thank you.